Okay, Michelle, I'm going to get started now. I see that our waiting room is filling up and we have a lot to cover. So I want to welcome everyone to our webinar today on how to take advantage of clean energy opportunities and trends to advance your career. My name is Janine Fennell. I chair the Seawheel Career Advancement Committee, and I'm also the Executive Director of Leaders in Energy, a nonprofit organization in the Washington, D.C. area focused on accelerating clean energy and sustainability solutions. We have a great audience today, and as people join us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're located, and what you're working on or want to work on. I've already started by way of example. And if you also want to let us know if you've attended any of these other sessions, just hit Y for yes, and it'd be great to see how many of you are returning. This is our fourth session here. Michelle, could we have the next slide, please? Today's program is the final webinar in our four-part series on clean energy and career opportunities, which started in early May. And the purpose of the series has been to examine emerging initiatives and trends in clean energy technology and policy, including the Biden administration American Jobs Plan, American Rescue Plan, and other efforts to help guide people on job and career opportunities in the future. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, you're on the correct slide, Michelle. So today is our capstone event where we're going to be focusing on helping people to enter or advance in their clean energy careers. And we're very honored to have two very talented and passionate individuals with us, both who founded and run their own companies specializing in helping people to energize and navigate their clean energy careers. Natalie Osborne serves on our Seawheel Career Advancement Committee and helps energize people for their job searches. She has a great deal of experience in the utility and energy industry. Dr. Beth Offenbacher heads up our Leaders in Energy Green Careers program and helps people to navigate their green career strategies to enter or advance in the energy and environmental sector. So welcome to both of our speakers. Now let's talk a little bit about our agenda for the session. Next slide, please, Michelle. So what I want to do is just tell everyone a little bit about Seawheel for those of you who are not as familiar with our organization, Council on Women in Energy and Environmental Leadership. And just for those of you also who didn't have a chance maybe to attend all of the sessions, maybe you caught the transportation session, but not the utility session. I'm just going to give some series highlights. Oh, and I just saw Christina DiBernardino introduce herself. Her ears must have perked up on the utility session because she was our moderator. Then we'll move to our speaker presentations and breakout session. And if we have time, we'd like to discuss next steps in terms of what our committee is going to be planning in the future to help our attendees in their careers. So again, welcome, and let's get right to it. So Seawheel purpose, as you can see in this slide here, is multifaceted, providing a network for women in the energy and environmental fields and mentoring to assist in the career development of existing professionals and those entering the field, and also providing scholarships to pursue STEM education. So it's a wonderful organization going back to, I believe, 2008. And I should also say it's part of the Association of Energy Engineers, which goes back even further. We have Michelle Whitlock on the line with AEE, who's just a wonderful supporter, facilitator for us on these webinars. And the mission of AEE is to promote the scientific and educational interests of those engaged in the energy industry and foster action for sustainable development. So you're in the right place here. Next slide, please. I am honored to serve with just such wonderful women on the Seawheel Career board here. You can just see they represent a wide section of industry, regions, sectors. Again, it's just a real honor here. And I want to thank everyone on our board for supporting us, for helping us find the speakers, for attending. If you're interested in volunteering in any of our committees, please reach out to these women. You can learn more on our Seawheel website, and a particular shout out to our leader, Lori Wiegand Jackson, who's just done so much to build the organization, and she's attended many of our webinars. Next slide, please. We have over 25 participating AEE chapters in the United States, which provides a wonderful network. I know Deb Lenny chairs our CWIL liaison group, and it's just a great way. We meet once a month to hear, what's going on in California, what's going on in Arizona, et cetera. And we attend international CWIL groups, including one of our board members from Jordan. So do visit cwil.org to learn more and become a member. Next slide, please. Just by way of recap, I just want to briefly highlight some of the topics and speakers. We were just so honored to have people from government, from academia, career recruiters. We had career recruiters in all of our past sessions. So just highlighting here, in the first session, we spoke on decarbonizing the energy economy and related career opportunities. Next slide, please. I also want to give a shout out to my career advancement committee members. Alexis Stone was the moderator for our second session on the transportation sector, again with industry, government, and career recruiters. So thank you so much, Alexa. Next slide, please. Want to do a shout out to Christina DiBernardino, who was our moderator for our wonderful utility session. Just had a lot of interest in that, and speakers, high level at DOE, electric power groups, and career recruiters. So again, thank you for that. And this is just a great way for women to get involved and really assume leadership and public speaking opportunities as well through our CWIL group. Next slide, please. I'm just going to whiz through a couple highlights, and we're going to move right into our speakers, just to let you know, for those who did not attend our past sessions, how we've been focusing on the Biden administration and its platform to create 10 million well-paying clean energy jobs. I'm hearing about this more and more. I was on a webinar yesterday with the CEO of Con Ed, who talked about their 70 by 30 program to have 70% renewables by 2030, and how they're ramping up their energy efficiency and demand response department. Oh, and thanks, Natalie, too. Yes, we've recorded these, and we'll have a link at the end to make it available. But really, just so many opportunities here in terms of moving to a cleaner energy economy. Next slide, please. So one of the things that you've probably been hearing about and that we've focused on here is just this fantastic opportunity for the American Jobs Plan to create these high-paying jobs. And Biden's plan is to invest $2.3 trillion into infrastructure and jobs. Now, if you've been following this, he's kind of having a struggle right now, and he's working still to make it a bipartisan effort. It looks as though he scaled it back from 2.3 trillion to 1 trillion. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing going on in terms of whether to increase the gas tax to help pay for this, the corporate income tax, whether to take out the child care component, which a lot of people feel is really part of crucial infrastructure because it helps us, particularly as women and families, to be able to focus on our careers if we know our children are being taken care of. Next slide, please. Christina's panel talked about the decarbonization of power by 2035 as part of the Biden proposal. Next slide, please. I also wanted to highlight Courtney Galatato from the Smart Electric Power Alliance. They've done a fantastic study with, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the number, like 160 utilities, looking at the leaders in decarbonization and innovation. So I just wanted to share this slide because I thought it was so important, particularly for those looking for clean energy jobs and want to align their careers with leaders in the industry. You might want to take a look at these utilities. Next slide, please. I also wanted to just highlight this very interesting article from LinkedIn, where George Anders, the senior LinkedIn editor, just talked about widening your scope on how you define a green job. Right now, we've got about 9.5 million in the green economy, according to their LinkedIn data. And you can see here, traditional green jobs are listed to your left. Energy analyst, geologist, health, safety, environment supervisor, but the job may not necessarily look like a green job, because he says there's so many opportunities in non-traditional green jobs. He had an example of sales where someone was selling like Kirby vacuum cleaners and then was selling something else. And then they got into selling fuel cells and solar cells. So they didn't really know, they didn't start initially in the energy industry, and now they're doing very well. So to just, maybe expand your net, that for every traditional green job, he says there are 2.6 non-traditional postings. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Next slide, please. I'm picking up here from Matthew Cohen, who was in, let's see, Alexis Stone's group on career opportunities. We're talking about opportunities and trends, and he spoke about growth areas in, as you can see here, smart building technologies, ESGs is also very, very important, as investors are really looking more and scrutinizing the money that's going into companies, the environmental, social, corporate governance, energy analytics and software, energy storage, EV charging, grid modernization. So we touched on a number of these, and we actually have a new committee member joining us who focuses on building technologies. So we may also be examining that in the future as well. Next slide, please. In terms of the skills that he says are in demand by employers, he mentioned some that maybe weren't as typical. I think we tend to look at more the technical kinds of skills, but he also mentioned some, maybe what we think of as softer sort of EQ, emotional intelligence skills, adaptability, flexibility, growth mindset, just your attitude, persuasion, collaboration, creativity. So I thought it was really good what he brought up. And he talked about the PMP, and it was interesting because he actually thought the certified energy manager might give you more mileage, and that's a certification that AEE offers. Next slide, please. Just if you are looking to just hone your skills continually, whether you're looking for a job or you're currently in the workplace, just a little shout out that AEE, our parent organization, has all of these very well respected certifications in energy management, energy services. You can see here, sustainable development, utility services. So just want to let people know about that. Next slide, please. We also found out and are learning more about AEE's online job postings. So if you're a member, you get free access to all these postings. I was just in there yesterday, so I could create this slide. Natalie, you might be interested because Next Center in Detroit is looking for a director of smart city technologies. I know that was your former employer. And I noticed Fairfax County, just in the area where I live in Arlington, that they're looking for an energy analyst. So you had Canadian, greenhouse specialist at BC Hydro. So very, very interesting. Universities too, Georgetown University. So I had not previously been aware of that online job posting. And if you're an employer, if you're a member, I think you can do free posting. Otherwise, there is a nominal fee to post. So I have the website there for that portal, and I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. And next slide, please. I think that's going to start to, I guess one more shout out, and then I'll introduce our speakers here. As I mentioned, I'm with Leaders in Energy. We really like to help people connect to find jobs with companies that are hiring in green jobs. We will have our 8th annual Green Jobs Forum and Career Fair, August 26th. It's being part of a larger Resilient Virginia conference. It's all virtual. And if you're looking for a job, please attend. If you're with a company that's looking to hire, we are also looking for, to build out our exhibitor list. So feel free to contact me, and I'll have all our contact information towards the end. So without any further ado, let us move to introductions here. I'm so excited, and really consider these speakers my colleagues and my friends. It's just a real delight to have them. So Dr. Beth Offenbacher is the founder, CEO of Waterford Inc., whose company's mission is to create stronger, more successful companies, nonprofits, and communities. She has more than 25 years of experience in training, coaching, and talent development in the green arena. And she's worked in a lot of these companies as well. Her prior work experience includes various positions with the federal sector, electric power sector, I think with Pepco in the DC area, a professional trade association, and a marketing firm. Beth's core expertise is in developing and implementing talent management and development programs for emerging, established, and senior level professionals. And her programs focus on developing the skills and talents that green leaders need to make a positive impact in the world. Wow, what a concept. Isn't that nice? Both at the individual and team level. She develops and instructs green career workshops at Leaders in Energy. And today, she's going to lead attendees through a brief exercise that provides clarity for your career search using her company, Waterford's Strategic Career Compass. She earned a bachelor's degree in communications at the State University of New York at Brockport, a master's degree in public communications at American University, and her doctorate is from Virginia Tech Center for Public Administration and Policy. So without further ado, welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for that kind introduction. Can everyone hear me all right? Great. It's wonderful to be here with each of you, and I'm delighted to be a part of the CWIL series. Every opportunity I have to interact with CWIL and its members just reinforces to me that I'm in the right place at the right time. So let me share my screen with you. All right, oops, excuse me. I think I'm having a little bit of a challenge. Apologies. All right, sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Well, as Janine mentioned, my expertise is in our field, and one of the things that I get great joy from is supporting individuals who want to either move into our field, because there is always room for new professionals. There's a lot of need that we have in our field, and as well helping individuals who are already part of the clean energy field move up into their next role. And so, as she mentioned, my expertise is helping people do that and helping organizations keep those great people or attract them as well. So let me dive in a little bit to my presentation and share with you the strategic career compass that I use with people to help them identify the future direction that they want to go professionally, and so that they can make the most of what they're here to do in the world. So let me begin first. I want to start with the poll about what the status of your career search is right now. And so let me bring that up for you. And so if you would grab your cell phone, or you could certainly go to a browser, you'll be able to participate. And this is something from Menta Meter. All right. So there are four options here. And if you go to mentee.com and use the code that's on the screen, you'll be able to indicate which of these four options represent where you are on your search at this particular moment. And what I love about this tool is that it allows us to see real time the responses from everyone. So let's pause for a moment and see what the responses are. So a lot of people considering transitioning to a new role, but haven't decided where the best place for them is yet. So hopefully the strategic career compass will help you further sculpt the path forward. Okay, a few people who've decided but haven't taken any steps yet. At least one person actively applying, and then a couple of people who are actively applying but who don't feel like they're making the progress that they'd like to. So we'll just wait another 30 seconds and see if there are any additional responses that come in. Okay. All right. Well, that I think gives us a good snapshot. We'll come back to this in a little bit and check back in before we go to another poll question. But in the interest of keeping things moving. All right, thank you so much for that. So the strategic career compass that I've developed focuses on these 7 questions. And let me just check in. Is everyone able to see my screen? Okay, great. And I'm going to walk through each of these 7 questions with you and help you to reflect a little bit more on them. So let's start with the first one. What do you contribute? How many people here are familiar with the wonderful work of Wangari Maathai? She was an amazing Kenyan woman who started the Green Belt movement in Kenya. And her statement here, I think, is very inspiring. She said that I don't want to protect the environment. I want to create a world where the environment doesn't need protecting. And so some of us I know have been in this field for some time. We may have a pretty strong sense of what our contribution is. And there may be others here who are still at the point of discernment, really trying to understand what is that difference that I make? What is the contribution that I'm here to make to all of the great green goals that are before us? And so a couple of tips to think about how you can further determine what your contribution is. One of the best tools that I can suggest is to take a look at the 17 different SDG goals and really try to understand which of these really speak to your heart. Is there a particular part of the field that you find motivating? And it may be that some of your the areas that draw your interest cross over boundaries here. So thinking about the work of Wangari Maathai, she focused on number 15, life on land. She also focused on no poverty. She also focused on gender equality, right? And bringing a lot of women into this movement, which was pretty revolutionary in a lot of ways. And she did some amazing things. She won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2008, I believe it is. So there may be some.
This is Janine. Sorry to jump in here. I'm just noticing do you need to advance the slides because the Menta Meter is still up here?
Oh my goodness, I apologize.
Sorry, yeah. I
Okay.
just wanted to let you know about that.
All
and
right.
Thanks to the audience for flagging that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry about that. All right.
Yeah, it might be you have to get out of one window for the Menta Meter. Just wanted to alert you.
Right.
Perfect. Okay. Yep.
Okay, apologies. Let me go back and. All right. Yeah. So this is Wangari Maathai, for those of you who don't know. All right. So one of the things that I do with clients is ask questions about the specific metrics or outcomes that they've achieved in their career, or perhaps in volunteer service. So some of those things might map over to moving into a green job, or those things that you've done previously in the industry that you might want to carry forward. So that's one way that you can try to identify what your unique contribution is. I also use the green economy map in the work that I do with individuals as part of the green career workshops that I lead with leaders in energy and in my individual work with clients. What I like about the green economy map, as you see here on the screen, is it gives us a nice way to map all of the different aspects to our field in relationship to each other. And so these 4 big buckets, nature, infrastructure, the manufacturing cycle, or as I like to call it, the circular economy, and then creating demand for products and services, are 4 nice big buckets that you can really explore where you'd like to go and consider what's the best fit, thinking back about your contribution, right? And what's valuable about this is it helps you to identify a sector that then you can communicate to others in the field, right? People who can help you land a job. If you just give them too general information, it's challenging for people to be able to make introductions for you or flag jobs that connect with that field that, again, corresponds with your particular area of interest. And so I'm curious, which of those sectors in the green industry most appeal to you? And so we'll go back to the Menta Meter here for a moment. All right, bear with me a moment, everybody. And so what I'd like to ask you to do is share with us which of those particular sectors speak to you. In what sector are you looking to make a contribution? So go to Menta Meter and use the code and type in, is it clean energy? Is it renewables, as we see here? And they'll appear on the screen as responses come in. Energy storage, EVs, excellent. More renewable, excellent, can't have enough of that. Energy efficiency, of course, very popular, very needed. Green buildings, energy storage. Great, renewables, EVs, excellent. Energy equity, well, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. Human energy, beautiful. Great, okay. Wow, transmission, green buildings, wonderful. So seeing a lot of really exciting parts of the field in which I see opportunities all the time up here. So we'll wait just another moment. Holistic big picture thinking, energy efficiency for existing buildings, circularity, energy management. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for those excellent responses that really give us a sense of the flavor of where people would like to land or where they'd like to enter the industry. Certainly, I know some folks are joining us today looking to become part of the clean energy revolution. So the next question I like to ask folks is, what is your why? And this is a really important question because this is more than a job. I think you could probably ask pretty much everybody in our industry, why do they do this work? Because they have a commitment to something that's bigger than themselves, right? And so to spend some time thinking a little bit about that question can really anchor you, especially on difficult days. So I'll share with you what my why is. As you can see here, I believe that when people have an individual connection to nature, the world is a kinder, more just, more equitable, more sustainable place. And so it's having that relationship with myself, to people and the planet, right? And then also, how is that anchored to my work? And so I'm curious.
Hey, Annette, or Beth, before you continue, can you get us back to the slides again? We're still in Menta Meter.
Oh, gracious. I'm so sorry about that.
And thank you, Jane, for flagging that. Really appreciate our attentive audience. You know, it's great. The audience is keeping us on our toes, Beth.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, let me go back. Apologies.
But what a great survey. I love the real-time aspect to that. Very cool tool.
Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Great. Okay, and so being anchored in your why is an important part of understanding, again, why you're here. And when times get difficult, that can certainly power you through. I do it because of my family, and you see some of those pictures there. So this is personal to me. I grew up in upstate New York near the Adirondacks. So to be able to have my family members and my broader human family be able to go out and enjoy the great outdoors is something that I'm really committed to. So I invite you to share in the chat window some of the reasons why you do this work. What propels you forward as you think about our industry? The next question I'd ask you to think a little bit about is, what are your must-haves as you consider being a part of this industry and you look at possible roles? What are those things that are really important for you? And here are just a few of them. They might include, of course, the work is an anchoring part of this, right? We're here to make a change in the world. We're here to do something that has impact, positive impact. So there may be individual goals that you have. There may be goals, must-haves that relate to the organization. What is that environment like? Do they allow flexible work schedules? All of those kinds of dynamics. as well as at the team level. And then again, we spoke a little bit about the industry side of things. Which part of the field really pulls you forward? And so is it a must for you to work in electric vehicles? And those are the kinds of jobs that you should be pursuing and not be pulled off into another part of the field that is a passing interest, right? So having a list of must-haves and scoring those organizations and those jobs just as much as they're checking you out and scoring you for your experience, your skills, your knowledge, and your expertise is really important for being strategic about your search. The next question is, what's your next level of mastery? And what do I mean by that? One of the things that organizations want to do is they want to keep really good people, right? And so they look for opportunities to expand your skills. You should similarly be paying attention to that. How can you further grow what you know or further expand your level of knowledge in our field? And then being aware on an individual level, what keeps you engaged and moving forward professionally so that you, again, are taking responsibility for your professional life. One of the quotes I love the most is from one of my colleagues, Glenn Richardson: if you don't have a plan for your career, someone else will. So you really want to make sure that you are driving that train forward and not someone else. So now let's move to the organizational side of things, or the industry side rather. And so I always ask clients to think a little bit about where is the industry now? And so I just want to pause and ask you, what are some of the big topics you're hearing about today? Janine gave a great overview. Make note of those. So many of them are ones where there are opportunities happening, right? Because there's funding, there's policy, there are technology changes, and those are doorways to new jobs, right? They need people to move things forward. So I hope that you are doing all of the right things professionally to position yourself. You want to always be learning. You want to be involved in organizations like Sea Whale, like AEE, and others that align with the part of the field that you want to go into. You want to look for service opportunities on boards and committees so that you develop individual relationships with other leaders in our field. You want to subscribe to newsletters, pay attention to social media, post on social media. You want to be writing and speaking about those topics that you care about to demonstrate your leadership in this field, your expertise and experience. So that's a core element of your strategic career plan. You also want to pay attention to where the industry is pointed. And this is probably the most challenging thing when I work with clients, is to help them try to understand what that is and what does it look like. And so here are five different categories rather that you can look at to try to discern emerging trends. The first one is social, and the second one technical, third economic, fourth environmental, fifth political. There are some overlaps, some things fall into more than one bucket. I pay attention to trends in human resources. For example, one of the trends I've been seeing in recent months is the movement toward using artificial intelligence for interviewing. HR departments are very stressed, and so if they can relieve some of the pressure on them for doing screening interviews where you sign on and you basically talk with a bot or a camera for that screening interview, it records the interaction, and then they take that back and consider, do they move you forward in the interview process? I believe Southern California Edison is doing that. I'm seeing more and more of that occurring across the field. Remote work is a trend that's recently emerged. That's one I think we're all aware of. And organizations too are starting to think broadly beyond just people who are on their staffs. They're thinking about a whole ecosystem of work that involves contractors, occasional labor, and their traditional employees. And so that has implications for how they manage the organization and the types of benefits they provide, the policies they have. So those are a few on the HR side. We've heard many today about things that really touch on our industry. Of course, hydrogen being huge. Daimler's announcement recently that their big trucks, their semis, they are converting them all to hydrogen is really a big movement forward. As well in Europe, they're saying that hydrogen is the next big thing after after electric vehicles. So thinking beyond just the next 4 or 5 years, how are we positioning ourselves? You want to be aware of those kinds of things so that you can look for opportunities for organizations that are thinking beyond just the 5-year horizon. A couple others I'll really quickly mention: solar and storage. They are coming together in a big way in the field. I'm seeing this more and more, that people aren't just getting solar option, they're looking for a storage option as well. And so that's really reshaping renewables in a lot of ways. And that gets to the issues of reliability. The last one I'll mention is, I think, really huge for ESG and measurement. The Green New Deal really syncs up through some tracking of organizational metrics up to the Paris Accord. We have a very decentralized, laissez-faire approach in the United States, but those companies that are international, and they are going to be required by the Green New Deal to be able to sync up that data so that they can track progress. And that's going to have huge implications for how they manage and lead and look at their sustainability portfolio. So those are just a few of the big trends that I'm seeing in the industry that I'll draw to your attention. And that may have implications for looking for that next opportunity for you. And that gets to this other point. Where is the gap? You want to be looking at what those organizations, what the industry is doing right now, and consider what that future horizon looks like. And so this is where forecasting comes in. It's about avoiding surprises. And so thinking about your career from the perspective of having some different alternative scenarios. Earlier, I spoke about the green economy map with the 4 quadrants, and saying, you know, picking a couple of sectors is really valuable. You want to consider using the trends that are out there. What are some of the possible things that are emerging, and how can you be prepared for them, so you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket? And then you want to start conversations with companies. The most exciting things that I've seen happen for clients are where they go in and they've had a conversation with the organization where, yeah, they're looking at your resume and your portfolio of what you've accomplished, but what else could you do for them? How could you help them meet that future need and help them be prepared to make the most of those market opportunities? That's where jobs get created that look a little bit different than the ones that are posted on Indeed or LinkedIn. And so you want to be using these insights to look for the on-ramp to your next role, so you can be seen as a valued resource for that organization, and tee yourself up for something that is maybe a little bit more customized to who you are and what you bring to the table. And so just a quick recap of those 7 questions, and then the big question at the bottom: in what ways can your contribution and your mastery serve the industry gap? You want to be strategic about your career, right? And every opportunity is not going to be the right one for you. To go in with some criteria and have some internal discernment about what's right for you and what's not right for you, so you can choose, right? That you maintain a sense of ownership for your professional life, just as that organization is considering you and how you're a match strategically for where they want the organization to go. So that's it. I apologize for the technical challenges and appreciate you all flagging those for me. I'm happy to talk with you about any questions you might have when we get to the Q&A. And with that, I will turn the baton over to Natalie.
Very good. And while we're waiting for Natalie to get her slides set up, I will introduce her. And Natalie, I realize time is running out, but let's hear your presentation. And maybe for those who can stay a little bit longer, we can still do the breakout groups, because I think it's so important for those who want to network with one another to be able to do that. So anyhow, as we move this along, we can figure that out. Natalie is the Chief Energizer of her own leadership development company and co-author of the international bestseller Ignite Your Leadership, where she's focused on positively powering industry professionals to energize lives and careers they love. With her extensive 20-year industry background, where she helped to implement over 500 million in energy efficiency, renewable energy, and sustainability programs, she understands our industry's day-to-day challenges and what it takes to fuel careers in the energy industry. Similarly to how you power your home or office building, there are proven strategies to positively power yourself more renewably and sustainably. Building on the foundational aspects shared by Beth for fueling clarity on your professional goals, Natalie will share helpful tips with us today to efficiently manage your personal KW and energize action to help you pursue clean energy opportunities. She is a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, magna cum laude from Michigan Technological University. Welcome, Natalie.
Thanks, Janine, and thanks, Beth. I really appreciate it. So I am going to do my best to get us to breakout rooms because that is the fun part of these presentations. Let me get my slides rolling here. So as Janine shared, I'm going to go this really quickly. I've got 20 years of energy industry experience. I've done everything from hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, performance contracts, energy efficiency, rebates and programs, renewables. Those are some of the projects and clients that I've worked with. And why I do what I do today is in that same 20 plus years, I've also focused on what I call human energy and used strategies that I've learned as a certified Canfield Success Principles trainer and Franklin Covey facilitator to positively power my career, create the success in my career. And now I'm really passionate about taking that into our industry and helping fuel our industry forward and working with industry professionals to share that. So to kind of dive in, I believe this is why I do what I do. So I'm sharing our why, right? Beth asked us to do that. Is our time and our energy are our two most valuable resources, right? And I want you to drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever had a course on managing your own personal energy, right? Most of us have had a course on managing our time, but not our personal energy. And it's just equally as important. So why is that important? And why is that important to you? So I'm going to build a little bit on what Beth shared on, getting our clarity. I call this our KW, and you'll see that in knowing who we are and knowing what we want. So, first things first, as we look to energize our careers, energize ourselves, we have to plug back into our own power. And what that is our potential, this infinite, amazing potential that we all have inside of us, the opportunities that we choose to pursue. Now, those are your career opportunities, job opportunities, educational opportunities, things you choose to do, things you choose not to do. The wisdom you carry, the hard knocks lessons of life, your education, what you learn from your parents, your mentors around you, coupled with the effort you exert, that action you take. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can take action. I'll share some tips around that. And then the R, the responsibility that we all take for that. And so that's how we power our personal energy. So that's how I like to frame things up. And so in taking charge of your career potential, which is why you're here in this kind of career series, is, looking at that in terms of the simple circuit, right? So there's our potential right there over on the far side, and how we power ourselves, and that's how well we are grounded in. And Beth got into a lot of this, the KWs of knowing who we are. So knowing what is that value we bring to the industry, what are our skills, our strengths, our weaknesses, what are knowing who we need to connect with to fuel our career forward. Knowing what we want. Beth shared a lot about this, really diving into, what are those next things that you want to look for in your career? What does that ideal career look like? Really driving that clarity around that. So taking action on those things, as well as knowing our why. So, and I shared, so my why is to leave the world a better place as a fun, energizing, heart-centered leader. And so I take that every day forward in my career with what I do with my clients. I even powered that forward when I was working in the energy industry career. And I'll share a little bit of a story of how I got into energy for those of you who are looking to hop into energy, or those of you that are in the industry and looking to hop into something else. But I started with my mechanical engineering degree. I had a lot of work experience working in automotive. And so when I moved out to California, I ended up getting a job because of my automotive background. So transferable skill, right? It's looking at getting clear on what are those transferable skills, writing those things down, looking at how you can power them in the industry. And I found a hydrogen fuel cell company. They were working with hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And so they brought me in because of my automotive background to be a field engineer. So that was back in 2000 when hydrogen fuel cell vehicles were 10 years out. You know, here we are 10 years out, and we are still talking about the hydrogen economy and now making announcements to put, you know, hydrogen vehicles on the road. And, you know, that business model was an interesting business model because it was a Daimler, Ford, and Ballard venture. So as you can probably see, our owners were competitors, were clients at the same time. And so I got let go from my first job in energy. And I had gotten the bug and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I got myself out there, and this is where I get into energizing action. I found a nonprofit, which is now the Center for Sustainable Energy. It used to be called the San Diego Regional Energy Office. And I saw that they were doing work in energy. And so I went to their, you know, job page. They didn't have any jobs available. They were small, about 15 people at the time. And so I just started going to their events. And then I started, you know, asking if I could volunteer at their events. And so I did this for about 6 months, following up, hey, is there a job that you have available? You know, when's your next event? What can I do to help? Getting to know the individuals there. And so about 6 to 8 months later, they post a position. And what do I do immediately? I'm like, oh man, why didn't they call me? They posted this position. That's my ideal job. That's my perfect job. So right away, I send in my resume. Again, I'd send it in a couple times to different folks at the organization. And I called to follow up and get in touch with the hiring manager. And he says to me, Natalie, when we posted that position, we thought of you, because you have been, you know, just following up with us, incredibly persistent about wanting to work with us, and we've gotten to know you. So we still have to go through the interview process. We still have to go through all the checks and balances, but we're glad that you're applying. So lo and behold, that did evolve into a career that really kickstarted my career in energy. So it's a little bit about taking action, not being afraid to be brave, reach out to people that you don't know, make those connections, show up at their events, shake some hands, get some business cards, stay in touch with them. So is that landing for anyone? Is that helpful? Drop a 1 in the chat if that was a helpful story to hear or helpful for you to hear. And so I also, because I'm an energy, I call myself an engineer. I love to talk about this in terms of, you know, the simple circuit, right? So if you know what this equation is, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'm sure most of you do. But V equals IR. And so I like to reframe this in terms of our industry as that V is our value. This is our skills, our talents, our individual value that we all bring to our jobs, to the world, to our everyday life, the relationships that we have. And that's proportional to our I, our individual, our responsibility. So there's that responsibility again. So of course, this is Ohm's law. And so if you are willing to take yourself off mute, I just want to ask you to take some responsibility right now for yourself and your own personal energy. And what we're going to do, if you're willing, and if you're not willing to take yourself off mute, that's fine too. You can, you know, do it in the silence of your office. But I want you to claim your power. You know, this is Ohm's law. So I want you to just say, I own it, right? You own your career. You own the direction that you can go. You are fully capable in terms of the skills, talents, and value that you provide to this industry. So on the count of 3, if you're willing, and if you want to come off mute, we're all just going to say together, I own it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I own it. Uh, So how do you go about positively powering your success? And I'm kind of talking quickly. I do that. So these slides will be available if you want them. I know we're recording this. Positively powering your career forward. Well, there you guys go. Here's another simple circuit analogy, but P equals IV. So drop in the chat if you remember what V was. But in this equation, powering things forward is P is your power, P is your potential. I, once again, is your individual value. Yep, Debbie, thanks, Jane. It's value. And V is value. So the power and powering your career forward is directly proportional to your individual value that you're providing, your individual contribution. So how can you use this equation to energize yourself and power yourself forward in our career? It's just a little simple hack, asking yourself, how can I power value in this situation? How can I power value to this relationship? How can I power more value to my client? Right? Taking a look at that. So just a little hack. So with that, I actually am going to put you guys into breakout rooms because I want to give you guys the opportunity to talk a little bit about your value, talk a little bit about who you are briefly with a couple folks, make some new connections because that's why we're here. We want to connect. Find folks that we can make those relationships with so that we can share with each other and provide value to each other to help power each other forward. So in the breakout rooms, when I pop you in there, I just want you to just quickly share who you are and your industry role. And if you're not yet in the industry and you're looking to transition into the industry, just share your current role with what you're doing and what you're up to now. And then I want you to share, and this might be a challenge, but I want you to share one of your strengths, one of your successes that you've had in your career. Keep it short. And this is part of taking responsibility for that, right? Own that value, own that success, share it. And then third, in terms of energizing action and powering things forward in the right direction, I want you to just share a little bit about what you see as your dream job, or maybe a professional goal that you're looking to power forward right now, or the role that you're seeking. And by sharing that information, because energy goes where energy flows, and energy is an exchange of energy, by sharing that information with each other, exchanging that energy, you're going to be putting that energy out into the world and moving that goal forward just by stating that out loud, just by taking ownership and owning that. Does that sound good? Any questions before I pop you into breakout rooms? I don't see any. So I'm going to be putting you into groups of 4 or 5, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to chat. So that's going to be about little over a minute per person. So kind of monitor your time as you go in. And to kind of keep it simple, I want the person with the shortest hair to go first, so you don't have to decide who's going first. Got it? So here we go. Bear with me while I set up the breakout rooms. All right, here you go. And if you're not familiar with breakout rooms, you'll be getting a request. Just go ahead and click join. Welcome back. Welcome back. I would just love to hear your experience sharing in your breakout rooms. Drop a 1 in the chat if that was fun to have that conversation, meet some new folks, talk about your successes and what you want to do next. Michelle, it looks like we've got some folks still stuck in their breakout rooms. So I'm going to do, if you could help with moving folks back to the men's session, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do that as well. So what I'm interested in terms of energizing action and next steps for, you know, based off what you've heard today, what is something that you want to do to energize your career forward? So drop that into the chat while we're getting folks back from breakout rooms. I closed the breakout rooms, but it looks like folks are not coming back. So they may have popped off the line as well.
Yeah, Natalie, this is Janine. I know we're getting close to time, but thank you so much for going ahead with the breakout rooms. It's just nice for people to meet each other. I had a great conversation with the lady from LA.
All right. So kind of wrap things up and get into questions. I just want to share one more quick slide, and then I'll drop my contact information in the chat. But if you are looking to energize some action, kind of shift your career forward, one of the things I do is host what I call positively powered masterminds. They're small group sessions where you can network and connect with other industry professionals, work on a professional goal or challenge that you're up to. And I have some sessions that are starting later this summer. So that's what I've got. I am going to stop the share, and then I'll pop my contact information into the chat for those who would like to connect. So Janine?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I guess we'll go back to Michelle's slides. We have okay, I guess we're just right at about timer. So I do have contact information for all the speakers, as well as where you can access the slides from the past webinars. And feel free, I know we're limited on time now, but feel free to reach out to me or other people in CWheel leadership. If there are any takeaways that you felt were helpful, or any topics you want to see us provide in future career advancement webinars, please let us know how CWheel can continue to support your industry career advancement and professional goals. And we really do appreciate you attending this session. Next slide, please. Here is the contact information with Beth, Natalie, and my contact information. And feel free also to check out the links to the past webinars on utilities, transportation, and the overall decarbonization of the economy. So I think that is it. And just really want to thank everyone so much. Kind of sad in a way, because this is our last of the 4 series, but we're really pleased how it went. And if you have other ideas for us moving forward, how to make this better, next steps, feel free to let us know. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.